So it's the 3 o'clock lull. Just talking to people back there, and they're like, man, it's dark back here. I could just go to sleep. So I hope you can perk up just a little bit, because we're going to talk about marketing. And would you like more or fewer F-bombs during this segment? More? Okay. I'm not a F-bomb type of guy, but I'll see what I can do with our panelists. So anyway, we're going to talk about marketing and best practices and how to communicate and market effectively and best practices and all that good stuff. And I'd like to invite Emily and Jennifer and James out onto the stage now. We're going to talk about this for a little bit. So come on out. Okay, so first of all, I want you guys to introduce yourselves, because I will undoubtedly get your titles and your companies wrong if I try to do it myself. So Emily, go ahead.
Will do. Emily Chenevert. I'm the Director of Operations for the Austin Board of Realtors. Nobody told me we'd be between a wizard and Brad Pitt, but we're here.
All right, James.
Jim Yockel, I'm the CEO of the Upstate New York Regional Information System.
Okay, Jennifer.
And I'm Jennifer Thompson-Kirsting, the Vice President of Stakeholder Relations for My Florida Regional MLS.
Okay, right on. So let me ask a sort of a leading question. So I do marketing and communications, and I spend some time in the MLS world, but not a lot. And my question to you is, why does an MLS even think about, let alone do marketing, right? You have a very engaged user base. People use your system every single day. In most cases, it's not like there are 10 options for MLS services in your marketplace. Why are we talking about marketing?
Municipal governments also have marketing departments, right?
What's that?
Municipal government also has a marketing department. They have a built-in constituency.
Yeah.
They have people who need to know about their programs and ultimately are sort of beholden to those programs. But they need people to kind of like them too, and to take ownership in those programs. I think of, like, we've got single stream recycling in the city of Austin, and that seems like something that everybody should want to be a part of, but they're working really hard and spending a lot of money to get people to know how to use the program, because that built-in constituency is not necessarily efficacy, it's not necessarily engagement.
Okay, James, why do marketing?
We don't really market to our group. I think the reason we would is to drive adoption of the product and services we offer. It's just something we've never focused on. We focus more on communicating to our members what we offer and giving them resources. But since reading the best practices, marketing is probably the place we're the weakest.
Okay, Jennifer.
Well,
Why not just leave them alone?
Well, I guess if you don't want to offer many products and services, you probably could.
Yeah.
But again, as Emily mentioned, and James as well, you have to, for the folks that aren't engaged, and let's face it, they're not engaged with us. They're engaged with the product. They're using the MLS every day. They're only calling us when they have a problem.
Yeah.
Right? So they're not really engaged with us. And so I think the part of it is, it's marketing in the terms of, I think you said it, James, is improving adoption of the products that they're not using and keeping those product adoption rates up. And if they're not good, then I think it was Rebecca Jensen said it, you have to analyze those things and make an informed business decision. So by communicating, it helps you to make those informed decisions.
So there's sort of, so I agree with you, but it's sort of a leading question. And certainly ties into the sort of value of MLS campaign, right?
Absolutely.
To the extent that your customers take you for granted, you're sort of opening yourself up to lots of bad things. But there is sort of a notion in the software as a service business, right, the SaaS business, the sleeping beauty, right? A sleeping beauty is a customer who pays you every month and you have their credit card, but you never hear from them. So if you reach out to them with emails, right, more often than not, the reaction is, well, I want to cancel, I have a problem, I lost my password, right? So, how do you experience that at all?
I don't believe that we do. I think, and I think one of the statements that we all talked about on our call was, a little bit about the RDR. I'm going to lead right into that.
Yeah.
Because the people that are the sleeping beauties, they're half the time they're not reading
Yeah.
the stuff anyway, and it's going to junk, it's going to spam, they've blocked us, they've unsubscribed, whatever. So I don't really think you're risking the waking the sleeping beauty. I think if you target things right, you can actually awaken people and get them engaged and get them informed about what you have to offer. And I think we all have some great things to offer.
Okay. So you mentioned RDR, and RDR stands for, you know what RDR stands for? Realtors don't read, right? I've heard that a million times. We've all heard that a million times. Sort of strikes me as blaming the victim. Why does that notion persist? Oh, realtors won't read that email.
I
Right?
feel like we're unfairly blaming realtors as if we
Yeah.
read, because the last time I checked, we all are owners in the 8-second attention span. So I think we have to be realistic about the pace of communications in every industry, in every facet of our lives right now. Our realtors don't read, we don't either, and we have to figure out how to communicate better in a very fast-paced, very content-overloaded world.
Yeah. So you have an opinion on this?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is, for the most part, we don't send them stuff worth reading. And
Yeah.
we try and be all things to all people in all channels 24 hours a day,
Right.
and it's not effective.
Yeah.
Thank you. So what we're trying to do is target what we send to the people it's relevant to.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have done extensive focus group work, and they love the idea. We launched a member portal that's going to do just that a couple months ago, and the feedback has been phenomenal. They love not having to sift through a whole bunch of stuff just to get to that one thing that is important to them. And I think that's the problem, is we add to the noise, we all have plenty, and we create work to add to the noise that's counterproductive.
Yeah. So let me ask you then, I'll ask each of you, what is the most effective thing that you do to communicate to your members? What is the most effective medium? So Jennifer, go ahead.
I don't think there's one surefire silver bullet. I think it depends on your constituency. I think it depends on, James, you mentioned it, the target marketing. And I think it depends on the messaging. And so is it being delivered via the message of the day or your news message, whatever you call it? Is it being delivered via email? Is it being delivered to them the way they want to receive their messaging? And I think that's a key component we all have to probably take into consideration, because the way I want to be communicated with may be entirely different than, half the room here.
So what, in mid-Florida, what's the tool set that you have?
We have a variety of tool sets. We use the message of the day, obviously. It's a great component. It's a great tool.
What is message of the day?
It pops up on their MLS screen. When they log in, it pops up on their MLS screen. That is something we use very judiciously, I guess, because when they're logging into MLS, they don't want to be bothered. They want to move on. They want to go. They may have a client with them. So message of the day, social, email, the news on the website, on the corporate website, if you will. Even during billing, we'll use text messaging. We don't really use robocalls anymore because they got aggravated with robocalls, so we don't do those anymore. So that goes to a lessons learned kind of thing. So we try to keep engaged with them so that we know what they want and how they want it. So
James, what do you do?
I think it depends on the message you're trying to send. What we're trying to do is different channels for different types of messages. So an important message, hurricane's on its way, message
please
of the
don't say
day
hurricane.
pops up, and everybody sees it. Something that's more informational is probably more social media, or it goes in a newsletter that goes once a month. Things that are time critical, we try and tag it and put it on the portal for the members who it's relevant to, and trying to manage the different channels all at the same time, so we're not just blasting everything out to everybody every way, because I think that just numbs you to the message. And I think our members want to believe us, they want to read what we send them, they want to trust us, but we haven't established that trust yet. And if we just keep sending stuff that is unimportant, they tune out. And if we can rebuild that trust, I think people are.
So how do you do that, right? So do you do one monthly email newsletter? How often are you touching your members?
Yeah, we still do a monthly newsletter, phasing that out very soon. The most critical when we do a monthly newsletter to only brokers and office managers, with critical things for them to share with their agents before it goes out from us. But I'd like to get out of that business also and just put everything in a place where it's only received by the people who it matters to.
Emily, what works best for you? You have something important you want to share with your members. You got a product you want to sell your members.
Yep.
What's your go-to?
Yep. For me, it's less about the tactic and more about how I've positioned the message and really being specific and deliberate about positioning it for the audience that I'm targeting, right? So social media works, but if I'm not saying things in a way that resonates or that is shareable or sort of is grabbing, attention grabbing, is bait click, then it's not going to work. And it doesn't matter how many times I post it. The frequency is really irrelevant if the position is poorly positioned. So we're trying to really think, hard and deliberately about what we're saying, who we're saying it to, and what we anticipate that person needs or wants. That's the expectation of consumers today, is that you know enough about me that you really shouldn't send me stuff that I don't care about.
Absolutely.
Okay. So let me ask you a sort of typical marketing question, right? What do you do for segmentation?
Yeah.
Right?
So
Because to your point of relevance, and James, realtors don't read BS. We don't sell them anything, send them anything they want to read.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're marketing, well, you got to figure out who your segments are.
Yeah.
You have appraisers, you have agents, you have brokers, you have team people, you have solo people. You're not speaking to them all with the same voice,
Those
right?
are sort of the obvious ones, I think. The ones that are by niche within this industry or position within the industry are more obvious than dapping into traditional demographic-based personas, or those that represent my actual interests aside from the fact that I am an independent broker. It's
Do you
sort
do
of
that?
interesting. Well, we're trying, and what's
Okay.
interesting about it is I was thinking earlier about the panel that talked about our Kmart pricing in this industry.
Yeah.
Infrastructure, specifically communications and IT infrastructure, is not a sexy sell to our leadership, right? It's just not. And big companies who do personification and who are target marketing well are spending lots and lots of money to know their customer. So if I could change anything to start, I would start by investing more in the systems that we operate on and their capabilities so that we would narrow down that target marketing in a more effective manner.
Okay, so James,
Yeah, our approach is a little bit different, and we're trying to look at everything we send as content to be delivered instead of communications, which is
Yeah.
kind of an amorphous word. So we're not speaking necessarily in a different voice, but the content is different for the different groups. So we segment the content based on who it needs to go to, and we try and create something that is interesting to them. But we're not sending generally the same thing to a group of appraisers that we are to a group of first-year members. It's very different. It's created separately, and it goes to the appropriate group.
so how do you manage that? Like tactically?
We can tag our members
database?
through our database with certain things, building this ability as we go, but certainly geography, time in the business, what kind of firm do you work with, a large firm,
Yeah.
small firm, that kind of thing, and separate out the content based on those things. We have an active real-time member map that puts a pin for where all of our members live, and we're developing a drawing tool similar to the MLS. You just draw a map, grab everybody in that geography, tags it, and out goes the content. So you're having a training near you, we pull the list, send it out, create a little flyer, and it only goes to the people who are likely to go to that training. And
We're
the other
managing
3,000 people don't care.
Yeah, very similar to that. We're managing an in-house data warehouse. The MLS has an incredible amount of information, clearly, not just about listings activity and inventory, but also about the people who are managing those transactions. Marrying that data, those intricacies of their business with who they are demographically is something that people do in political campaigns all day long, but we never think about doing in the MLS or in the association side. So being a GAD by trade, I'm bringing some of that kind of advocacy perspective to thinking really critically about who I want to target and why.
Well, and I think to add on to that is marrying up the product usage as well.
Yeah.
So when you've got product usage and you've got demographic stats and you've got these other things, you can really do some serious target marketing and get the message in the voice to the right people at the right time,
Right.
that they will stay engaged and they will read the message. And maybe we can get away from that term, RDR. I don't know. I'd like to see that in my lifetime.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a ticky-tacky question. So video, like this is a pet peeve of mine. Everybody always wants video. Well, we got to do a video. It moves, right? And it's cool, and we all feel good about ourselves when we do a video. But then you go on YouTube, and you see, 16 views, right? And you're like, God, I just spent $5,000 on this video, and it took 100 hours, and I got 16 people watching the video. Almost never, the juice is almost never worth the squeeze on video, in my experience. I know video is the future of Facebook, and that's all true, but like, Have you had any success with video?
We've had great
We have,
success
yeah.
with tutorials in video.
Yeah,
You know, that
right.
if I cannot be in that digital lab with you and I can't show you side by
Yeah.
side how to manage transaction desk, then you can look at that in video and have a real life learning experience. So I think it's been valuable from a how-to perspective. From a marketing perspective, you're right. Everybody wants it all the time and they think it's all that for everything, and it's not.
Yeah.
We have,
Jennifer, you were?
No, go ahead, James.
Go ahead.
as we have more luck with training type videos using like Powtoon or something like that, and creating some cartoonish things to go through simple stuff
Yeah.
under a minute. We tried video messaging from me or from the president. It doesn't get a ton of views, and it's more work than it's worth.
Yeah.
But you know, to make it production-wise something that's interesting to watch takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
So we've kind of
Probably
backed
a
off.
well-written email would
I think you're
get you further.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I don't know. We did a campaign, I don't know, it was about a little over a year ago, and it was a mandatory compliance class that everyone had to go through. And so we did a short video. It was an animated using Go Animate, I believe. It's not expensive.
Yeah.
I mean, for a smaller association, it's
Yeah.
not a big spend.
Yeah.
And the bang for the buck is really there. And as long as the messaging is clear, concise, and in the right voice, they went nuts over it.
Yeah.
They loved it.
So what I'm hearing is video is good for sort of educational tutorial
Right.
purposes, maybe not get people excited about something you want them to do purposes.
We've had great success with video also in animating our stats releases so that as a resource for our membership to share with their own clients and consumers. And that's kind of grown legs and kind of walked away a little too. It's it's social, it's shareable, and it's something that makes those numbers a little softer than just this infographic with all this stuff going on.
Okay.
So we've found good success with that as well.
Let me ask you, so I'll start with you, Jennifer. So what was the biggest marketing and communications, quickly, win that you've had in the last year?
I think it was something called an Inman Innovator Award
Okay.
for our state27homes.com. I would call that a win.
Yeah, right. So it's a great website,
Yep.
but I'm talking about, God, we had something cool to tell our members, and we got it out to them, and they all opened the email, and they all did what we wanted them to
Well,
do.
I would say, okay, so this is a very annual thing or quarterly or whatever it is, but it was our billing campaign.
Okay.
Our annual billing campaign, we've got it down to the down to it's transactional, it's on its own rolling thing, and it works. And you know, we really keep the number of unpaids down and those people that we have to, you know, make those phone calls to. But I think our annual billing campaign is probably one of the best.
James.
This year we launched a new member portal that's designed to put everything for the Members Association life in one spot. Fewer clicks, everything's presented for you in a nice, easy to consume way. Leading up to that, we did a number of focus groups, and we really ramped up our face-to-face feedback gathering, which was an unbelievable experience. We touched several hundred of our members. The feedback was great, but what we learned at the end was I think the focus group, the getting out, talking to the members is even more important for achieving our goals than creating a better experience for them.
So let me ask you, how did you pull that off? Because a portal or an intranet, like those things are always like so crowded and archaic, and oh my God, we can't move this link because the system was installed in '97, or like, what did you build it on? What did you do?
I didn't pull it off, our vendor did. It's basically a graphical representation of our membership database, and it's beautiful. And it sends all the messages that we want to send to our members, so they have to look less. And right front and center is a news center that is only populated when there's something that we want to tell you, not everybody, but just you. And so you may get 2 or 3 messages over the course of a couple weeks from us. But when you see one, you know, okay, this is kind of important. And the focus group work leading up to this said, if you can do this, if you can build our trust back, that you're not spamming me, I will not only read it, I will seek it out, and I will go there and look to see what is coming from me. So it's been a big hit. The information we got from the focus groups was fantastic, and people really like it now.
So how large is your organization?
3,000 members.
3,000, right? You're doing focus groups. How many, I'm just curious, how many of the organizations in the audience do focus groups regularly? A few. Yeah, that's really key. Like in sort of the larger marketing world, you sort of do these things as a course of just doing marketing, right? You do focus groups, you understand your personas, you segment audiences, right? So, I mean,
I think it's the most important thing that we do. I mean,
Yeah.
how can you really work on strategy or filling your members' needs if you don't hear from them what their pain points are, what is frustrating them, where they're annoyed by what you're offering them, and then fix it. And most of the feedback is easily fixable. You just don't know it exists. And it's kind of the Sleeping Beauty syndrome.
Yeah.
If you email, hey, what's wrong? Nobody's gonna respond because they don't care yet. But if you sit in a room with 12 people and say, tell us what's wrong, they will talk for an hour.
Right.
And most of it is simple. And we go back and we fix it. We find solutions. We get back to them individually.
Yeah.
Hey, here's your question. It's solved. And they love it.
Yeah. Emily, so what are you most proud of in the last year?
We had a great launch of Transaction Desk, and it's one of the things that's been most exciting for us is the development of cross-functional teams internally and organizationally. We're really treating our staff like they are our greatest communication asset because they are. And it's not good enough to just give them these comfort statements that are like, you know, the marketing taglines about the value of the product, but we're investing in their understanding and knowledge base around what our members do, what our subscribers do, and how they're going to use that product so that they can inform the usage in a way that's really tailored to the subscriber. And it's been good.
Okay, so I'm hearing that the big themes is know your customer, personalize, use restraint,
Yeah.
and write well.
Absolutely.
Okay, basics, right? Don't try and do too much. Go to social, video, Pinterest, texting, robocalls, all that type of stuff. I mean, just sort of basic block and tackling around marketing communications. So I want to tell all of you, I want to thank you, and also I am somewhat disappointed nobody cursed.
We could make that happen.
So anyway, we kept it clean. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.